back to Porsche Club Insider. We're back at the podcast studio at 5 North Main. I'm your host, Vu Nguyen, and we've got our usual characters here, although we're spread apart a little bit. I have Manny Albin, our PCA technical director in-house, and Rob Sass, he's on the move somewhere in Michigan, I believe, with family in tow, and Damon, he's actually off this week, out spending time with his family in California. Rob, where are you?
Somewhere south of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I believe on I-196.
All right. Well, keep your eye on the road and drive safely as we try to get this podcast done. We have had a lot of things going on since we were last together, and most of it took place in California. So I figured today we'll just kind of share with everyone all the stuff that we've done. Manny, you want to start?
Yeah, it was a whirlwind trip and very busy. So let's see. We flew out, you and I together first, and before the rest of the gang came on the following day. We went there because we wanted to check out the Good Vibes Breakfast Club, which is this, they hashtag not a club. It's not an organized club. It's just a bunch of car enthusiasts that get together and they meet in the parking lot of this shuttered restaurant. And it was a blast. But going back a little bit, when we landed, we rented a car, Vu got very excited when he saw pickup trucks at the National rental car parking lot, and he zeroed in and went past all the other potentially cool cars and went right for the Chevy Colorado crew cabs.
Okay, well, here's the reason why. The reason why is the whole focus of this trip was to carry off Unstock, our event that was going to be on that Sunday at the Gunther Werks headquarters. And with any event, we shuttle tons of stuff, tables, chairs, signs, cones. And when I see a truck available at the rental lot, I do get excited. And this Chevy Colorado happened to be a very close blue to Club
It was like
Black.
a paint to sample. Yeah, it was like a paint to sample Chevy Colorado. It was actually a decent looking truck.
And being at LAX and SoCal, it seemed like it was parked there for a while. Nobody there wanted it but me, so I felt obliged to pick that car up or pick that truck up and use it.
So
yeah,
we had never been to this Goodbyes Breakfast Club meet, and they meet at Newcomb's Ranch. That's a restaurant that's no longer in business. And I looked at the map to see how far away it was from our hotel. It was going to be a bit like a 2-hour drive, and we had to wake up really early. But I saw the actual road, the Angeles Crest Highway, and I looked at Vu and I said, "It looks like you're going to be driving this."
And I had no idea what he was talking about.
So
that's the first time. Wait a minute. That's the first time you've both been on Angeles Crest.
First time. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about it so many times. I didn't realize.
The only two people in automotive journalism who haven't been on Angeles Crest.
Yeah, and I chose a perfect vehicle to take on Angeles Crest.
Yeah. Were there actually any civilian plates there that day, or were they all manufacturers' plates?
No, there was people are commuting back and forth using that road. Okay. Yeah, it was. It's a driver's dream, as everyone in the world except us had never driven that. And I'm sure a lot of listeners probably have not driven it who are not from California. And it's definitely worthwhile. Preferably not in a pickup truck, although I got to give props to Vu. He drove the piss out of this Chevy Colorado. And
I was impressed.
He kept on asking me if I was car sick, and I don't get car sick very easily. So I was just sitting in the right seat, looking at my phone and looking at the scenery. It was, I don't know how many turns, but whoever designed this had to be a driving enthusiast because everything's cambered. Yeah. It's a great driving road.
And you've watched other videos on YouTube and have seen so many people drive up there, and you hear about it, but until you've actually driven it, you go, now I totally get it. And then you see all the spots where people have pulled off and taken, the photos of the press car and stuff like that. And you're like, oh man, I can't believe this road. You think of LA and you think of traffic, you think of, 8 to 10 lane wide highways, but this gem of a road exists and it climbs thousands of feet up, and really there was no traffic. Now, granted, we left at the crack of dawn to be there by like 8 o'clock, but that road was pretty open. I mean,
It is pretty amazing. For people who don't know, it starts at La Cañada, Flint Ridge, which is about, 15 minutes from Burbank and Pasadena. And it starts at about 1,500 feet above sea level and climbs to about 7,500 feet. So you can sort of do the math and get some idea of what it's like. But yeah, it's incredible. I think people actually do commute into the LA basin from Irwindale or Palmdale, whatever is up that way. But it's an incredible road.
And in true LA fashion, like, I was extremely surprised that there would be a good number of people, a lot of people on a Friday morning. I guess they didn't have to go to work. We just happened to be there, and we could go. There were, that parking lot filled up pretty quickly, and it was just all sorts of cars. I mean, we saw anything from Porsches.
But even before that, the best part was it's actually a lover's lane. It's a very romantic spot, especially 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, because Boo pulled over to take pictures of one of the scenic views. And what we saw was we saw exposed derriere of a man in the back seat of a BMW.
I noticed that it was an E46. An E46 is a 2000 to 2004. Don't quote me on the years, but BMW 3 Series. I'm a fan of those, and I noticed the E46. But then I noticed something was going on in the back seat, and let's keep this PG, and we'll just say.
If the moon came out early.
You got to mention there was a foot on the headrest and another foot in the rear window.
I couldn't believe it. And I'm sure they couldn't believe that we pulled up on them. So anyway, sorry to have interrupted them.
Yeah, somebody said, did you take photos? And I said, I think both of us were like kind of surprised to see that. That never occurred to us to bring our cameras out. And I'm not sure what we would have done with the photos anyhow. So anyways, this meet was pretty cool. It's I've seen pictures on it on social media, and it's like a cars and coffee right in the smack in the middle of this highway.
Yeah, a lot of enthusiasts. Yeah. We actually, one of the first cars that we saw when we were up there was a modified long hood, and it looked perfect to be at Unstock on Sunday. And met the owner, super nice. It was a car that he built to drive, and very tastefully done, obviously very modified. And, we got into, hey, so what are you doing Sunday? And he goes, oh, I'm going to Unstock. So it was perfect.
Yeah, it was almost every cool car that we saw, we mentioned Unstock, and they were already registered. So it was a good omen of things to come. So after we did
a good segue into actually talking about Unstock.
Well, after we did the Good Vibes Breakfast Club, we went to PECLA's
fifth
anniversary.
Yeah, we squeezed in that before Unstock. Unstock was Sunday, so that was PECLA was Saturday morning, and we squeezed that in early in the morning before we did setup for Unstock. And yeah, it hadn't been to PECLA in a while. I've got to say, it hasn't changed a whole lot. They had separate parking for those that didn't buy, I guess, parade laps. We were very surprised to walk in.
Well, you didn't take a parade lap in the Colorado?
No, I did not.
Seriously?
So our goal was to get there quickly, say hello to everyone, and then go get ready for Unstock. But walking through the doors, we did see a lot of PCA members, local region members out front and just milling around. But probably the highlight for me is walking through the doors and seeing the Mission R parked there. That thing is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a lot better in person than in pictures it was a impressive looking car, but seeing it in person, you really get to appreciate what a cool looking car it is. And if this is the future of electric race cars, then bring it on.
And what you don't see in pictures, is the relative size. I'm not saying it's a small car, but as far as a race car, it's pretty compact, and you can almost guess what the street version of that car might be. And I'm pretty excited about that.
Right. And it was at the LA Auto Show, obviously, a couple of days later. And I'd echo what Manny just said. I kind of didn't get it when I saw it in pictures. I sort of in profile found it to be like egg shaped sort of, but in person, it's really pretty spectacular.
Absolutely. They had, so for their celebration, they had commemorative merchandise. They had artists painting on a car. You could listen. We couldn't stay, but probably the thing that I would have loved to do was to listen to Andreas Pruninger and Frank Walliser. They had sort of a tech session, let's say, set up in motorsports. That would have been so cool to sit in to listen to that.
Yeah, that was, unfortunately, we didn't know about that. We had to do setup as well for Unstock, but we got to meet with them for a little bit, and they were just happy to
be out.
To be out, exactly. To be back in LA, to be back in the US. You could see that their plate was filled very quickly with stuff
we did ask them to if they had time to come out to Unstock, but it seems like their dance card was pretty full.
And later on, we saw the Instagram, Spike Ferrison's Instagram, and I think Jerry Seinfeld brought all his toys out to the hangar, or added a hangar, and they got to drive the 550 Spider, sit in a 908.
They got a better offer.
Yes.
I'm not mad. Mad. I would have done the same thing.
All we had was a Chevy Colorado.
But a Club Blauwen. So Sunday, Unstock. Oh my goodness, we've been planning for Unstock for quite some time. For those of you that haven't heard about Unstock, it was almost a theory that was put into play, came about from Peter Nam and I and a few other folks at SEMA a few years ago, noticing all of the modified Porsches at SEMA. And we made a pitch to the PCA Executive Council to see if we can't do a show a few weeks after SEMA, and all of these SEMA built cars could be showcased, because most non-industry people don't get into SEMA, so they'll never see these cars. So we thought, what if we did a show where those cars could come together, and then also we would ask all PCA members that have modified Porsches to bring their cars out. So it's a little bit of a departure from a traditional show. Started at 11 to 2 versus an early PCA event. We had no agenda, no judging. We had a Sirius XM DJ spinning the tunes, top 40 stuff. We had food trucks. We had seats for people just to mill around. We had an artist that created some beautiful prints for us that people could use to take Instagram photos. And more importantly, Gunther Werks opened their production facility for anyone to walk through and just see the different stages of all these cars that were being built, and of course the final pieces that were built. It was finally coming together, and so Manny, take it away with the start of it that day.
Well, even before the start, the planning of an event like this, from the national viewpoint, this is especially challenging because we're East Coast, obviously, and this was a West Coast event, so it wasn't like we could drive to the location and an hour and drive back and check things out and measure parking spots. It was all done remotely, so when we showed up, we had to really scramble to get things done, and that was laying out a parking lot, so it doesn't look like a parking lot, so it looks like a curated car show. We had never had an event here. The only thing they've had was Cars and Waffles, I think. They did like an open house to go from, but this was going to be even bigger than that. With, as you said, like the DJ and invited cars. And so it was, we worked there about 5 or 6 the night before, laying out this parking lot and getting all the logistics, little things like porta pots, tables and chairs, things that, and taping 100 spots so the volunteers would know exactly how to position these cars when they came in. But it went really smoothly. And
shout out to the Orange Coast region and Monica and the region volunteers. They did a phenomenal job. We taped the parking spaces, but they put every car exactly the way we had anticipated in the field, so to speak. Their display area looks fantastic.
Yeah, our national president's an engineer, and our national treasurer, if he's not an engineer, he wants to be an engineer. And between the two of them, second guessing our measurements and remeasuring, I think the first 3 spaces took an hour to tape. we had to gently remind him that we were fighting sunset here, and we had to get this done before it got dark, and we couldn't see anything. So yeah, they sped things up, and we got it done in time.
So what did you think, Rob? Just kind of coming in afterwards.
I can be, I think, even more effusive in my comments on this because it has nothing to do with the planning or execution of it. But, hats off to the people who conceived it and green-lighted it, because I think it was really important, the diversity of cars. There were some really, really super tasteful builds that were great to see. But the sort of the diversity of people who were there. I mean, honestly, it's the first time at a PCA event that I've ever, I've seen anyone wearing a Wu-Tang Clan T-shirt. So, that in and of itself was something new. But it was fantastic. It was like nothing that I think PCA has done before, and I'm really anxious to see what the follow-up's going to be.
Yeah, so. In typical fashion, there were some early birds, which was a good thing. The event didn't start till 11 o'clock, but we had someone roll up at 9. We actually had a few people roll up the day before just to check it out so that they would know exactly where they were going. But really by 10:30, our show was ready to go. Folks, those that were displaying cars were asked to come at 10, and they certainly did. We were ready to go at 10:30, and then as 11 o'clock came around, you could see Manny was manning sort of the entrance into the business park, and people were parking around the business park, and you could see the wave of people walking towards the event, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. So we had to go by registration. I became de facto registrar, and there wasn't a lot to go from. Some people gave pictures, some people didn't. Some I had to look up their social media to look at pictures of their cars. We wanted cars that looked modified, not cars where you changed the bezels on the dials or your gear shift knob, something small where you couldn't really see the difference. We wanted cars that stood out as modified. So I think we did a good job of bringing some cars in, like you said, from SEMA, other cars that we saw, that Elko, our advertising director, he saw while he was going to Cars and Coffees. And so, it wasn't the same cars people see every Saturday or every Sunday at a Cars and Coffee. It was people brought us some special cars, and it was it went really well. The weather was better than normal. I felt bad working. It felt like I was working the front door of some exclusive Manhattan nightclub because we had about 7 extra spots that we still could fill, and having to turn away like 3 or 4 GT4 RSs simply because they were just stock. A Y-Stock package didn't cut it. You had to have something modified on the car. Meanwhile, we let in like a regular 944, but it had a wing and body work, and it was modified. That could come in, but if you had your GT2 RS Y-Stock, unfortunately, you were parking in the street that day.
So
you get to live out your Studio 54 Bouncer fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. So, like Rob said, I was pretty proud about the diversity in age and such that we saw with the attendees. But probably I'm most proud about is we looked at the registration, and probably a little bit more than a third of the folks that were displaying their cars had never done an event with PCA. And that was the whole motive behind this. Is we certainly believe that there's a group of people that we haven't been able to reach out to, or maybe they feel intimidated by the traditional events that we offer. And by no stretch will this event be the norm for PCA, but it's just one more added event to the mix of many awesome events that we have. And hopefully you'll see some of these people that are finally coming out and feel welcomed, be a part of PCA, and they might be the next region president or national president or some sort of chair in our event. And I think that's really important because, again, the age of the folks that came was, they were young and they were excited and they felt so welcomed.
Yeah, and I was surprised how many appreciated having Gunther Werks open. Mm-hmm. And you figure that being there that everyone's seen it, but evidently this was something new. And kudos to Peter Nam, who runs Gunther Werks or owns Gunther Werks. He brought in his staff and had them positioned in front of every car. So if you had any questions Every time I walked in there was people. His staff was always talking to a group of people about every little detail of the cars and how they built it. So that was better than just having the cars parked in the bays and people looking at them, wondering how they did this or wondering how they did that.
Yeah, that makes a complete difference.
That really was a highlight, being able to tour the Gunther Werks shop. And as you would expect, and it was so sanitary and so well laid out. I mean, people were inside wearing masks. It actually kind of looked like an operating room.
Yeah. I mean, it's like going to, I don't go to a lot of art museums, but once in a while, my wife drags me to one. And having a docent explain to you what you're looking at makes a big difference, and you appreciate the artwork much more. And although we are car people, but you don't realize, how lightweight a carbon fiber fender is. You don't realize the different things that they did, that they do in-house to make those cars. So they had a staff member every 10 feet to answer the questions. And I think the future of Unstock has to have that element in it, where attendees not only see these beautifully modified cars by our members, but there's some sort of special access to, be it a Gunther Werks type of shop or some sort of manufacturing or something.
It was interesting how much, how good of a customer of Porsche Classic Gunther Werks is, because even though, you take a donor 993 and these aren't trash 993s, these are in really good shape. It's still an older car, so Gunther Werks isn't going to put in the same oil line hose or little parts that were worn out. So they go to Porsche Classic to get these replacement parts. And they said they had a great relationship with Porsche Classic and with how many parts they buy from and part requests and whatnot. It was fascinating, because sometimes you think that this is competition to Porsche, but
right.
I don't think with Gunther Werks they look at it that way.
No, and also thanks to Peter and Gunther Werks that we had all modified cars, like the big cars. We had the Singers there, we had Tech Art there, and without hesitation, Peter's like, we want everybody to come. We are happy to host PCA's event. It's not about a showcase of Gunther Werks. And we had everything there. And probably the biggest surprise that we brought and put center stage, again, based on the initial conception, the idea of this show was to bring a SEMA car to Unstock. And we put center stage a vehicle from, take a deep breath. We put a car center stage from West Coast Customs. Yes, the same West Coast Customs that brought you Pimp My Ride. And when people...
I would not have in a million years guessed that car was done by West Coast
we told Peter Nom.
We told Peter Nom, and he's like, what?
Raised his eyebrows, and we were like, you got to see this car. It's incredible.
See it. It does not have, 10 right. LCD monitors. It doesn't have Lambo doors. It doesn't have, and no disrespect to the builds that West Coast Customs have done before on other cars, but they were known for that, right? And so, even to a outlaw PCA modified person, like a more traditional West Coast Custom build is pretty outlandish.
Yeah.
To them,
when you
right?
told me that West Coast Customs was going to bring a car, I honestly was expecting something that would make like a Gambala or a Strosek car look like low key and tasteful.
You were going to signify to Laura in our office to start drug testing, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the car that they brought. Well, what year was that, Manny?
The 77 911 that they made into a 73 RSR replica.
And man, it looks gorgeous. And we'll have a video here shortly, and we'll have some photos that will direct you on the PCA website so that you can see photos of the car that we're talking about. But the first time we saw it at SEMA, I couldn't help just constantly say to Lorenzo, the project manager, like how tastefully done this car was. I mean, all the little details and very unlike West Coast Customs. Like if that car was parked and you didn't know, it didn't have any labeling, you wouldn't know it's a West Coast Customs build until you dig deep.
Yeah, we didn't know it was, because it was actually at SEMA. It was on top of the Continental stand. So we thought something Continental Tires brought in. And it wasn't until we got closer that we recognized some of the guys from West Coast Customs. And so finally I said, there's no badging that says West Coast Customs. And he said, actually, if you look behind the grill, he says, you'll see our logo real subtle.
Yeah.
And we got on the stage, and sure enough, so it was, it was very well done. And I think a lot of people were surprised that West Coast Custom did Porsches.
And I would think Lorenzo, being an enthusiast, I think he drove with his family. That car was brought on a trailer. He drove with his family in a beautiful. Oh, if you didn't see this, Rob, you would probably cry and make you have seller's remorse. But he came in a Guards red.
Don't tell me a 996 Aero Kit. I knew you had to get that thing in.
Dude.
You know, you and the guy that I sold it to, who like once, every other week texts me photos of my old 996 Aero Kit car at some cool place in Austin.
Guards red 996 Aero Kit car with, I believe he had later style roof wheels on it.
It looked good.
It was good.
They were 5-spoke roof wheels.
Did you see it?
I saw the car.
Did you cry? Did you cry a little bit? Did you cry a little bit?
I did. Yeah, because you had to point it out to me. It's like, I could have made a left going out of Unstock and walked to my rental car without seeing it, but you had to make sure that I saw the car.
It was an opportunity.
Thanks.
It was an opportunity.
Thanks for stoking the seller's remorse there.
You're welcome. But back to Lorenzo. Lorenzo is truly a Porsche enthusiast. So I think he's the one that kept that build, in line, so to speak, and all the little details from the cloth inserts for the seats to just the shifter, the bezels, the motor, right? The motor and how it built up super clean. And
they even took the sunroof out and properly and put in a slick top.
Yep, exactly. The wheels, the colors, everything about the car is nicely built. So hopefully you guys will see some photos of it and video of it here in the near future. Any other cars catch you guys' eye? Oh, that rally build. Sorry. What do you think of that rally build? That the white one.
The white one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd been in the media and the pictures, but seeing it up close, it's pretty
insane.
Wide, and it looks like it's definitely purpose built.
Yeah, that was not a car just for looks.
Oh, the Safari 911?
Yeah.
Yeah, just when I thought we'd reached sort of peak Safari Porsche, that car showed up and sort of raised the bar.
Absolutely.
The one that I fall under, I think I've seen everything, but then something surprises me, was the Trans-Siberia.
Oh, yes.
The woman who brought it, when we first saw her come in, all we saw was a Trans-Siberia with another Trans-Siberia on a trailer being towed, and two Trans-Siberians, which it's pretty rare. But what she actually had was the street version towing the actual race version,
the black and orange Trans-Siberia,
the Halloween car, I guess you would call it.
Kidding?
And it was an actual. I don't know if you looked at it, Rob, but this was the actual race car that the factory built to run in the Trans-Siberia Rally.
Siberia Rally, yeah, that's amazing. When are you going to see an E1 Cayenne towing any other E1 Cayenne? I mean, that's
a matching set.
I think people don't realize. What's the tow capacity of an E1?
7,000 pounds.
Yeah, it's like 7,700 pounds, something like that. So
yeah, she had an aluminum
people
trailer.
Forget what capable tow vehicles they are.
Yeah, it was an awesome.
But it was. I took a lot of detailed pictures because, quite frankly, I've never seen this car in the museum at any events. Mm-hmm. The actual race version and how Porsche they put a roll cage in the Cayenne, and it looked like a cup car roll cage. They changed the door panels, the center console. It was just purpose built for a multi-day professional rally. It was really fascinating. She kept it all the stickers on it. The stickers are all starting to crack now, but it was an incredible piece of history. So I think they did a video on.
They did. They interviewed her, so hopefully we'll get the story. But do you know how she obtained that car? Like, how does one even get a
That's what I wanted to find out.
Like
I said it would have been interesting when I didn't realize what it was until we started talking to her about the car. And when she said it was a real thing, we all took a closer look at the car, and she opened all the doors up, and it was.
Well, I think the timing's right for that car to be debuted because at SEMA we saw a few Cayenne off-road builds, and I think with Cayenne E1s pricing dropping probably to the lowest point that it's ever had, people are now picking them up for a song and realizing that they can put a taller suspension, a little bigger wheel and tire combo. And even a stock E1 is incredibly capable off-road because they were built to be off-road vehicles, unlike the more modern versions.
So, Rob, Rob, you were looking at that. Was it a green? I hate to say in color since I'm colorblind, but that.
The olive green 964.
The wide body, yeah.
Yeah, the guy who brought that was high up in the design hierarchy at Kia, and it was just a complete designer's car. It started out as a wide body 964, and just we all looked at the car. I mean, choice of wheels, color, the interior work was all just absolutely first rate, completely tasteful. It was just absolutely an elegant build, just fantastic looking car. Probably one of my favorite cars there.
And you said you came from the design house at Kia?
Yeah, the guy, his day job is he works in design at Kia, I guess somewhere in Orange County. But, you could tell that it was a car that was conceived, built, owned by a designer. Just all the little touches, details with the way the sports seats were done and the interior, the color choice, the wheels, everything about the car just reeked of good taste and good design sense.
Are we going to see any of the cars from Unstock be featured in Pano in the future?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll probably see, at least 2 or 3 cars from there featured in Pano over the course of 2022.
Awesome. Well, anyways, thank you to everyone that made Unstock happen. Manny, thank you for stepping up with being registrar, and the HQ team for setting up the parade, not parade store, I'm in parade mode, but the merchandise store and the booth, and everything just went as planned. And I'm so proud of everyone. And hopefully we'll be able to do it again. I don't think that we'll be able to host it at that same facility, because we kind of knew going into it that we had to limit to 100 cars just because of parking restrictions. And so we'll obviously have to find a new home for it in the future if we decide to do it. And then also, we are already getting questions. Would there be a similar show maybe in the East or in the South or in the Northeast or Midwest? I mean, people are going, that was pretty cool. Can we have one too? So if you're interested, maybe reach out to us and let us know, and we can put something together. But let's talk about our next event that we had to prepare for after Unstock, and that was the LA Auto Show. And for those of you that have been following on, there were 3 world premieres at the LA Auto Show. Porsche did their world premiere video on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, and I'll be kind. It was a world premiere. I didn't get as much information as I had hoped from that premiere. Let's be kind, Manny.
Yeah.
So if you've watched it, you'll know what I mean.
German-like. Best way I can describe it. I guess at some point somebody said that looks really great. I think we did a great job of.
It was
pre-recorded.
It was pre-recorded.
It did have Mark Webber.
It did have A-listers.
Yes.
But I just felt like I didn't learn as much about the cars as I had hoped, which presented an opportunity for us because Porsche Cars North America allowed us to do a live, a Tech Tactics live on the floor Friday morning. And so with that, we prepared Thursday and showed up at the booth and tested everything, and we were all ready to go. 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday, we show up. We get 200 lucky PCA members into the breakfast preview. They're having breakfast. We are getting ready to go live. 8:15 was the go time, and around I want to say 8:05 we start to go prepare, and then panic sets in.
Yeah, we were throttling great upload speeds, which is critical for a live broadcast on YouTube, and it just plummeted like a bad stock price.
And no one knew why. And of course, we were promising the world that we would go live at 8:15. By 8:10, they're resetting routers and doing all this stuff, and we're still nowhere. And as my last toss into the end zone, I just connected my cell phone and hoped that the 5G network was enough to broadcast. And we also had some footage that HQ already, Robert already had in queue, so that if things were to go bad, he could kind of cut over to those scenes. But we made it work. Is it the best quality?
Wait, you actually
video?
did that whole live stream using the 5G from your phone?
Yeah. I mean,
That's amazing.
Not ideal, but it was better than disappointing everybody that we weren't able to go live. The audio it was definitely listenable.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
The weird thing is my laptop was showing like 120 meg upload.
Yeah.
But we couldn't get the microphone to be recognized by my laptop.
Because we weren't planning on using his laptop.
Mine was going to be like the wide shot, not using for audio. So yeah, I like I told Robert,
Yeah.
ran out of control.
Let's talk about the actual hardware of the show in the cars.
It was we got through it.
We got through it, and we kicked it off by, if you haven't seen it, we kicked it off by seeing the Taycan Sport Turismo and the wagon form. For those of you that don't know, the Cross Turismo, which is the sort of the off-road version. I like the Cross Turismo, but I've always hoped for the Sport Turismo. I thought this is what would have come out.
This is the best looking version of the Taycan yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we think it's the best looking long route Porsche? Do we think it's better looking than the Panamera Sport Turismo?
Yes,
with that,
absolutely.
I think that was in last year's design issue of Panorama. I think that is a
because it's also
looking car.
It's a touring or a wagon or whatever, a shooting brake, whatever you want to call it, but its proportions are on point. I mean, I think the Panamera version, even the sedan of the Panamera is a big car, whereas this one is a bit smaller, a bit more compact. It's very sporty looking. It's a gorgeous car.
Yeah, and I love the sunroof. That roof, it looks so much different in black than it did on the Panamera. It was just
so that roof, I have mixed feelings about that roof. I think it does look good. It's the one where they have liquid crystals or something like that in there, and you can hit a button and it powers it, and then it darkens it so that you don't get burned from the sun, which is the functionality part of it is fantastic. However, in my cheapness side, I worry about, man, if something happens to that, I can't imagine how much that costs. Manny's just staring at me like, what the heck, dude?
How often do you break your sunroofs?
I don't, because I rarely ever open them because I worry so much. Like I will tell you, my E1 Cayenne sunroof, sometimes it decides to go into the moonroof function, and sometimes it closes. Like it has a mind of its own. So
right.
I don't know why.
Well, talk to somebody who's had to do the cables on a 996 Targa.
Oh yeah,
your fears are well founded.
So, anyways, I as functionality wise, I think it's cool. Long-term maintenance wise, I'm a little fearful of it, but the car itself is gorgeous. Now the Race Tech, I think you all know my thoughts on Race Tech is I think it's a okay material. It's supposedly the sporting material. I don't like it on the steering wheel.
They have it everywhere on this.
Everywhere.
On the LA Auto Show version.
It's everywhere.
Oh gosh, that's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to go into like this deep dive on the merits of Race Tech versus Alcantara. At which point I'd be nodding off. But
no. I get it as part of the GTS trim.
It's a little bit nicer on the Race Tech than the okay.
Yeah. No. It is handsome, especially when it's new. Again, I'm thinking of the long-term ownership side of it. Like it's a whole lot of maybe the Race Tech material is easier to maintain than the old school Alcantara. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll have to do a long-term test.
No,
or not.
But regardless of that, 506 horsepower in a wagon for you to haul your family, go down the interstate on. I mean, that's pretty.
I mean, here's the big question: is like I said, I think the Panamera Sport Turismo is fantastic looking. I never see them. I wonder what the take rate is going to be on the long route Taycan. I mean, people should be snapping them up. I just I don't know what it is with Americans and wagons. But,
sadly, I agree with you. I think enthusiasts always say they love tourings, shooting brakes, wagons, hatchbacks for that matter. But when it comes to
but 5 people actually reach into their pockets. I don't know. I liked everything about it. It was interesting they showed it in Guards Red, but
Carmine Red, not Guards Red.
That was Carmine. Oh, sorry. Okay. The Renbo guy stands corrected on that, but I thought it was fantastic looking. I'm anxious to see what it looks like in like a light metallic, some of the other colors, but I love the car. I can't believe you just led with the Taycan.
Well, here's the thing. That car, although it was a world premiere and as amazing as it was under a pretty darn big shadow.
Right, which is why I said I can't believe we led with that car, but I think it's great.
So let's talk about what was casting that shadow.
Well, obviously, it was the worst kept secret.
The 993 RS that was there. Oh, sorry.
That was a nice car.
993 RS. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Since this is an insider podcast, I'll give you a little bit of insider viewpoint.
That RS was there for?
No, well, actually, the Thursday or the day before the member breakfast, we were Damon and I. We were there for media days, so we're waiting for Vu to show up to have this meeting to go over what's going to happen during the breakfast. And we see everyone in a sheer panic, and they're all crowded around the GT3, which up until that point no one was paying attention to.
Oh, I know,
because of the other cars. And then I overheard that the window broke, and evidently, you know how Rob had a window goes up when you shut the door and it seals itself. Well, it had gone up, but the door wasn't shut yet, and somebody went to shut the door, and the battery was either dead or they can go in there and shut the car down so it doesn't use any battery at all. And
they must have closed it pretty hard with the window in the up position, which hit the seal and
caused a crack.
Oh, so it was a safety glass all over. I mean, I wonder if that is like special lightweight glass too. That could have been
it was Panic at the Disco, basically.
Yeah.
It was what to do. So that's how they ended up rolling down the window, because nothing better than do to hide the problem.
Yeah.
We all learned that when we were 5 years old.
Oh, come on. They wouldn't just take a trash bag and some duct tape?
I told them some cardboard goes a long way. And then they took some velvet ropes, which they turned out that the owner of the RS, the 993 RS, didn't want the public touching the car.
Understandably.
And after media days, so they had to rope. The agreement was they would rope it off. So that was a perfect excuse to also rope off the GT3, so they could keep the windows down and no one would try to get in it. So in the end, no one knew until we just told everyone on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is Manny's forte. I mean, the stuff that you just don't know about. I hadn't heard that story.
So the other thing is, I wonder why is a 993 RS there? Is that an Easter egg?
Because it's cool. They could.
Oh, the next car to come out is going to be the GT3 RS, right?
Yeah.
Or the GT2 RS.
Exactly.
Oh, so you think it was like an Easter egg?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the next RS, right?
You guys are so much smarter than I am. Yeah, who knows? It may well have been.
You watch enough Star Wars movies, you know there's little clues everywhere.
Yeah.
This might have.
Easter egg or breadcrumb.
But anyways, so the GT4 RS was the big star that everyone wanted to see, and I don't think anyone was disappointed. This was how did you put it, Rob, on the phone earlier today? The gift or the send off.
Oh yeah, well, Porsche has this great history of like doing almost Viking funeral send offs for their cars. I mean, the 993 is the last air cooled 911. The 4-cylinder transaxle cars got sent off with the 968 and the 928 GTS. So, yeah, I mean, it seems logical that this is the great send-off for the purely internal combustion, mid-engine portion. If that's what is to be, I think they did a pretty good job.
It's also kind of sad if you're telling me to think about it that way.
Well, I don't know. I mean, are we dreading electrification? I mean, if you look at the Mission R, it doesn't seem like anything really to fear.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that they finally, let's face it, I mean, it's like the best piece of fan service that Porsche's done in a long time. They've given us the mid-engine car that everybody's been clamoring for, and it's fantastic. I mean, the most hypercritical journalist that I talked to on Tuesday were gushing over the car. They literally couldn't find anything to nitpick about it. I didn't even hear anyone talking about, PDK versus, everybody was just going absolutely nuts over the car. And immediately the talk went, speculation on the car in terms of what people are going to be asking in the secondary market, what additional markup, dealers are going to be charging over MSRP, all that happy stuff.
Yeah. I have to be honest that when I saw the press release come out, I believe that color is Arctic gray and the wheels are indigo blue. As a reveal color, seeing it on the computer. Huh?
You're going to nitpick the color?
I know it doesn't sound like I should, but I just want to be honest. Like, I didn't think it was like that appealing of a color combo. But then I was, when I saw it in person, then I got it. To me, it looks completely different in person than it did in all the press releases.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I got to tell you, if you saw the Cayenne Turbo GT that was parked in the corner that was gray with the gold, satin neodyme wheels, right? That really popped and that really worked. I don't, it's a subtle difference from the color combination they showed the GT4 RS in, but I don't know, for some reason, that car really, really worked.
Yeah, I think everybody was. It's hard to nitpick, and of course, I am nitpicking with colors. But the car itself, I think, has met so many expectations. People have been wanting it for so long, but yet there's still a question that people were kind of mumbling around while they were looking at the car. Was was it designed to be right up to the level of a GT3 or a 911 spec car, but not surpass it?
Or below it, because it's not as fast as a GT3.
Is it?
And the Nürburgring lap time, at least stated the lap time.
That's what I chuckle because people start talking about, well, it's not faster than, honestly, in reality terms, any one of us in a standard, let's just say a base Boxster versus someone that is that's a good driver, we could be sitting in that GT4 RS and get smoked by someone in a base Boxster. So really, it's like, does it matter that if it's technically designed to be faster than a 9? Because the weakest point is going to be the driver, which none of us are, super duper drivers, right?
But I guess.
Yeah, I thought we were going to launch into the GT4 RS or 718 kneecapping conspiracy theories, but no, don't let me interrupt.
Yeah, well, the question was, why didn't it break 7 minutes? Why? I mean, that's an incredible time. Don't get us wrong. Because they kept on saying that's 30-some seconds quicker than a GT4, and that's true. I mean, Formula One teams spend millions of dollars to get a tenth of a second off a lap time, and here Porsche is in almost over 30 seconds, I think, quicker. Mm-hmm. But and even Porsche, and Damon did a great video interview, which is online now, about, I think it's 7 things about the GT4 RS. And, he asked that question, and the response is, it's more than just the horsepower, even though both cars, the GT3 and the 4 RS, have the same engine. The suspension is different, doesn't have the double wishbone, it doesn't have the same arrow.
Doesn't have rear-wheel steering.
No rear-wheel steering, which is pretty important. Yep. So now the question is, well, if there's a .2 version of this car, will it finally bow out with all this stuff on it? Mm. Or will, as you say, Porsche kneecap this thing so it's not quicker than... I personally would love to see the ultimate 911 end with, or at least the internal combustion engine 911 end as the R-Star, as a mid-engine 911 that they raced. That would be like the ultimate final episode. And it would make everyone happy, because the Cayman people would say, I told you so, and 911 people would say it's still 911.
No, trust me, you will not make everyone happy. You will not make everyone happy. Not possible.
Yeah, there's videos online, though, showing the differences, and even JFK-like conspiracy theories on that Jörg Bergmeister might have been bagging it on the lap time, so it wouldn't beat the GT3. It's pretty fascinating, you know.
Yeah, we have the transcript from the radio.
So the next big thing that, you know, I could hear people mumbling while we were, you know, giving the presentation of the car is the price point in which it is offered at, and then the reality sets in of what dealers will be offering the car at.
Right, Manny. I mean, what are the two big options are the Weissach package and the wheels. I mean, what's the damage on just those two options?
I think the wheels were $15,600. I believe
those are for the magnesium wheels.
Magnesium, and I tell you, for that much money, they better put stickers on that thing that says magnesium, because I mean, they're beautiful wheels, and I applaud them for bringing back or using magnesium, you know, and being so lightweight. But that's a lot of coin. But that's exactly where you want to take it off, all that unsprung weight. What was interesting, no one could answer to me, was why did the show car not have ceramics? Mm-hmm. You know, because you figure if you want to get as lightweight as possible, let's also throw in ceramics. My theory was that if anybody asked, what does this car standing here or sitting here go for? The extra $10,000 for the ceramics might have pushed it over or too close to the GT3 price. So they withheld maybe. I'm not sure. No one could give me a reason why, or it was like the first time they were being asked that question. So the Weissach package, I think that was almost the same, and it wasn't really. It came with the probably the best visual feature of the car, the window intakes with the scoop. Mm-hmm. The regular car comes with what the Club Sport comes with, which is more flush to the window. The Weissach edition comes with this scoop, which immediately reminded me of the 904, the little scoop it had, also roughly the same spot. It wasn't a window, but it had it about that same height. And
it was like a C-pillar, because there wasn't a quarter window, right?
Yeah, and so you had to, like we were talking earlier, Rob, that's an option you have to get, because otherwise you're explaining to everyone who sees the car why you didn't get it.
So I haven't spent much time in a Cayman. Where those ducts are is typically where a window is, right?
Yes.
So it's a quarter window.
So as a street-driven vehicle, does that present blind spot issues?
Well, you know, some of the forums, they brought that up. And so the next day we went there, second to media day, I sat in the car and I chuckled to myself. I said, well, now this is a Boxster, because in our Boxsters, we don't have the windows behind it. So we have a blind spot. You know, when you look over, you're looking at fabric.
Right.
In the Cayman, you're looking at glass and you can see through it. You know, Damon got in the car and Damon says, you know, I don't even think I use my rear quarter windows for anything. So I don't think it was that big of a deal.
That's a good point.
Nothing that a mirror can't adjust
to it.
Yeah.
What'd you think of
and it's still not, you know, drive a Camaro or something sometimes. You want, you know, just absolute horrendous outward visibility. I mean, it still doesn't approach that.
And probably what made the folks happiest was that there isn't, yes, it'll be hard to get initially, but their plan to numbers for this car.
Yeah, you asked Michael Tam during Tech Tactics Live, and he didn't hesitate. No limited production, that essentially if you want one, you're going to be able to get one. And if you're patient, you shouldn't have to pay additional dealer markup, because there's going to be plenty to go around. It may take 2 or 3 years to get your model, but if you don't need it right away and don't want to pay additional dealer markup, you shouldn't have to.
And I got to say, this is where much props to Porsche, you know, coming out with a model like this, saying that we're going to produce it for as many people that want it, when in a stark contrast, and we'll wrap up this LA Auto Show, in a stark contrast, we walked the LA Auto Show floor after our event, and it was 80% electric news. Yeah. So kudos to Porsche.
So what if you're not patient? What do you think the experience is going to be like to be, you know, one of the first 50 or 100 people to get one?
You're going to pay a crazy markup.
On the forums, I'm seeing 50,000 additional dealer markup.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I mean, everybody, when in 2016, when the 911R came out, everybody was chiding the people who paid the additional markup on those cars. And, in the end, they don't look so silly. I kind of think that no matter what you pay within reason for one, you're never really going to be underwater in this car.
Yeah, but it's disappointing to me. I mean, if the car really costs that much, whatever that markup price was or is, that's one thing. But just purely to put a markup on it, like I feel as though even at 140, 150, that's not a small amount of money. But when you take it up to 200 or so, that it just puts a lot of people out of play. And that's unfortunate really because it's an amazing car that more people should have the opportunity to own.
And let's face it, the MSRP is 140. What's the MSRP? 143 for a base?
Yeah, something like that. Close to that.
Yeah. I mean, probably tomorrow on Bring a Trailer, somebody is going to pay close to $100,000, if not more, for 2012 Cayman R. So,
well, that's thanks to your article.
Well, that's a fantastic segue, Mr. Sass. Let's talk about your article of $100,000 cars that aren't $100,000 right now.
At least last week they weren't. This week that's changing.
Last week they weren't. This week, well, what's really discouraging is, immediately after we published that, a Cayman R went up on the mart, priced I think at about $85,000, and the seller was saying, "Hey, look what a bargain this is." It's published this article saying these are destined to be $100,000 cars, and you can buy this now at a $15,000 discount. But yeah, and the Bring a Trailer auction that's happening right now, the 6,000 mile Cayman R, same thing. They, the seller referenced that story. So
for
it was that car. It was 987 Boxster Spider and 968 Club Sport.
So what were all the cars that you mentioned in the article?
It was Cayman R. It was the 987 Boxster Spider and the 968 Club Sport.
Okay, so 3 cars in the article that you're saying. What you could get that below 100, but it has a future at being.
The 968 is a little more rare because it wasn't sold in the U.S., so it had to have been imported.
Yeah.
But the other 2 are readily available in the U.S., and a lot of people who owned them took notice of Rob's article.
So
yeah, but they're legitimately special cars, all 3 of them, and there are some cars floating around of all 3 of those cars that have 400 or 500 miles that people may be asking close to 6 figures for. But right now, a Boxster Spider with the seats and a manual is $65,000 to $70,000. 968 Club Sport is 60 to 80, and Cayman R's seem to be 75 to 85. So they all seem to have some upward momentum.
I want to share with you, this is going to floor you because my buddy who called me a few weeks ago before this article and everything, and he's been looking for a Spider, or he just kind of came across a Spider actually. He bought a black one, 987 Spider for $48,000. And it was a fairly low mileage car as well.
You're kidding.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I hear about those things happening every now and then. Yeah. Somebody that you and I know, bought, a red 987 Boxster Spider from like a franchise Kia dealer or something in the low 50s. It was a manual car, as well. So, I mean, there are still people out there who haven't gotten the memo. And it's still possible to, probably buy the last one at the old price, but I think the window is probably closing.
I think the scenario in which this black car was so inexpensive was the guy wanted it, bought it, tried to drive it as much as he could, but he realized he was just too big for the car, and then he wanted to get out of it for what he had left in it, or maybe a couple thousand more than what he had left in it. So that's why.
Oh, that's an amazing price. That's
I know, right?
Dirty Carfax.
Yeah, and the car was mint.
Yeah.
So Rob, what do you think? I look at the Cayman R, and I think this is a fairly inexpensive way to get into an exclusive club of R and RS ownership, because the RS nameplate is very special with Porsche. That's the height of the height. And, being able to say you actually have an R, because Porsche didn't build a whole lot of Rs. They've been very stingy with that name. So being able to get a R car, that I think carries some weight. What do you think?
I think so too. I don't know the exact production numbers. I want to say the seller and the bring a trailer auction is going on right now, sort of like 641 or something like that. I don't know if that's the actual number, but yeah, it's a pretty exclusive car, exclusive club for, like I said, under $100,000. I think it seems like one of the more frequently seen colors is Peridot, that sort of greenish, goldish, light metallic color, which I think is spectacular. It's a ton of car for the money. I think that we'll all probably regret not buying them. Thanks to that article, I guess the train sort of left the stage on that. But, like we said, there's always a window of opportunity.
But again, I want to underline, don't buy these cars because you're hoping to make 50%.
Right.
Don't buy it because you love the car. My buddy didn't buy this car because it was $48,000. He saw a drop top, unique car, wonderful experience. Buying it at 48 or buying it at 65, whatever you buy it at, if you don't make money down the road on it, at least you can just say, it's fine. It's fine. If you do make money, then that's great.
That was the first thing that we said in the first paragraph of the article is don't buy cars for speculation. Buy it because you love it. That said, all three of these cars are very, very easy cars to love.
Exactly. And we're fortunate that we love a brand that's making cars where, for the most part, if you keep it in good condition, you keep it for a good amount of time and you enjoy it, you're not going to get hurt long term if you decide to get rid of it.
Right.
So with that, we are at the top of the hour. I want to thank you, Manny, you, Rob, for joining us. We are all getting ready for the holidays here. And Rob, thanks to your family for letting us borrow you for an hour. Thank you to the folks at Podcast Studio at 5 North Main. Thank you to the coffee bar, Bel Air, for keeping us awake through this podcast with their wonderful coffee. And Manny, anything else before we sign off?
Be careful on the highways.
Be careful on the highway. Stay safe. And until next time, we'll see ya.